On Thursday evening, as Jamaica bathed in the beautiful sunset before the IPL auction on Friday, I listed 5 players who I believe it was likely for them to start a bidding war at the IPL auction. I would not say predict, because those who followed the IPL, the leading up to the IPL, would have also listed these 5 players. There were 5 overseas players and 1 Indian player. At the end of the auction, of the 30 slots that were available for overseas players, 29 slots were filled. The English got 18 by, the West Indies 5, South Africa and Australia got 4 each. And those 4 nations comprised 21 of the 29 slots that were filled by overseas players. Hello everyone, and welcome to the Cricket Forum. Thank you for tuning in, and seasoned greetings to you all. I trust that you're hearing me loud and clear, as I apologize for what happened this morning. Thank you for that confirmation, Sheldon. I appreciate it. Now, please slash a like on the video, share, and subscribe. This afternoon show is brought to you by Cricket Village. Show someone that you really love cricket and introduce a youngster to the game today by getting a starter kit from the Cricket Village. Click the link in the video description and get your starter kit today. At the end of the auction, the 6 players who I have listed that it was possible for them to start a bidding war, it did happen. 3 Englishmen, 1 Australian, 1 Indian, and 1 West Indian. Sam Puran, an Englishman, was picked up for $2.5 million US. Ben Stokes, another Englishman, he was also picked up for over $2 million. So was the Australian Cameron Green. The Indian Agarwal got a little over $1 million. Harry Brooks, another Englishman, got close to $2 million. And our own West Indian, Nicolas Puran, got 1.95 million, $1,950,000 United States dollars. Now, I know some calculation may differ as to how much Puran actually got, but using the matrix that the IPL used, it was 1.95 million United States dollars. The issue that I am having is that when commentators and so-called experts and analysts, whenever they spoke about Puran and Stokes and Green and Brooks and Agarwal to a lesser extent, because they are very upset that Agarwal only received just about $1 million. And so these so-called experts, who because they played the game, believe that they can say anything and we should gulp it. My issue is that they continue to launch a vicious and malicious attack against our own Nicolas Puran. It is almost like a war has been launched against Puran since he earned that $1.95 million at the auction. And I said earn because he didn't beg anyone, he earned it. It was a legitimate auction. When they spoke about Sam Curran, they spoke about him in glowing terms. They spoke about the record amount of money that he got at the auction. But whenever they speak about Puran, it is hatred, maliciousness. And this is led by a man called Salim Jaffer. Wasim Jaffer, who played 31 test matches for India and have a strike rate of 48. That means he would not get an IPL contract. And he have launched an attack on Puran and picked up by other persons in the media and also our own West Indians on social media have been saying some very distasteful and terrible thing about Puran. And I'm bitter about it because I do not know Puran. I saw him play for the West Indies. And whether on television or at the grounds, I have never yet spoken to Puran. And you would all agree that I beat Puran hard on this channel. I criticize him hard. But this distasteful and horrible and despicable attack that the foreign media is launching on our own Nicolas Puran must stop because he got a $1.95 million at the auction. They want to crucify him. Why? He did not do anything wrong. And what hurts more than all is that our own West Indians are following that trend on social media. They are making it look like it's a bad thing for Puran to fetch $1.95 million at the auction. This hatred of our West Indian people must stop. And Wasim Jaffer must remember that he was not in a good financial state before this media in India gave him an analyst job. So he must accept that, because the thing about some of these past players and some of these elderly person, middle class person, not middle class, but mid-aged persons, when these youngsters make money, it appears that they grudge them. They grudge these youngsters, thank you very much. They grudge these youngsters for the amount of money they are making. They are hateful. And we in the Caribbean cannot allow and cannot continue to speak the same narrative that these foreigners are speaking about our brothers in the Caribbean. So Wasim Jaffer said And he spoke about Sam Daniels and Romario Shepherd, who the Lucknow Supergiant also bought, which is the team that bought Puran for 1.95 million United States dollars, the Lucknow Supergiant. And he said there are question marks about them delivering in the IPL. There are question marks. Nicolas Puran again falls into that category, even though he's a quality player. But I think he's very overpriced. So Agarwal was not overpriced. Sam Curran was not overpriced. Ben Stokes was not overpriced. Why is it that is only Puran that is overpriced? Why? He needs to sit down and stop the hatred of our fellow West Indian brother. And we on social media in the Caribbean should be pushing back instead of agreeing with him and building up the hatred and make it feel like Puran had done something wrong. We have to learn to support each other. We have to. And now, Puran deserves that money. I'm going to take a quick look at the reasons why Puran got $1.95 million. Firstly, after giving up the West Indies captaincy, Puran became more relaxed. He did not have to be thinking about West Indies captaincy anymore. He did not have that burden of worrying about West Indies captaincy anymore. And we saw the first sign of this in the regional Super 50 tournament when he averaged almost 100 with a strike rate of 93. We saw that in the regional Super 50. It started there because he became more relaxed. A few weeks before the IPL auction, Puran made 345 runs in 10 innings with a strike rate of 234 at the Abu Dhabi T10. And the Abu Dhabi T10 was only a few weeks before the IPL auction. And as Gautam Gambhir said, the former Indian cricketer and mentor for the Lucknow Supergiant, he said that we did not look at Puran past performance. We knew he's a quality player and he was our target. And when you look at the runs that Puran made in the regional Super 50 and the runs and the strike rate in the Abu Dhabi T10, it is clear that Puran, with 25 sixes and 31 fours in 10 innings, was getting back to his very best. The third thing why Puran was in so much demand is that his IPL strike rate was over 150. And I wonder if when Wasim Jaffer made this statement that Puran falls into the category of those who fail to deliver in the IPL, I wondered if he had checked Puran's strike rate before he made that statement. Sit down, Wasim Jaffer, and leave our West Indian brother alone. Go away with your hatred. Stop the war against Puran and do a good job. You got a job so that you can put food on your table and you are using it to bring down our West Indian brother. Sit down and do your research and talk properly. The fourth thing why Puran fetched such a high price at the auction was that he was the target of the Delhi Capitals. Now, the Delhi Capitals captain Richard Pant is their only keeper in the squad. The Delhi Capital went into the auction already have 20 of the 25 players that they needed. They had about $3 million going into the auction, so they were in a good position. Over 2 million. It never quite reached 3 million. And so they needed a keeper, a wicket keeper batsman. And when you look in world cricket, you can look, all of you can look, check world cricket. Which better batsman is out there, wicket-keeper batsman is out there than Puran, who was not already a member of an IPL team? So Delhi Capitals made Puran their number one target. That's one of the reasons why the price went so high. Puran did not set this price. It was a bidding price. And although Delhi Capitals in the end have to secure for Phil Salt. They seconded for Phil Salt because they did not get Puran. Because clearly, the Lucknow Supergiant, although they already have KL Rahul as a keeper and opening batsman, Quinta de Kock also in their setup, they wanted Puran also. And as Gautam Gambhir said, we need a finisher. The fifth thing why Puran fetched us a high price at the auction was that 4 teams were bidding for him. Over 60 bids were received for Puran at the auction. Over 60 bids. So when Wasim Jaffer and Tom Moody and all of you who on social media were criticizing Puran for his $1.5 million, you need to sit down and back off the man. And in the very jovial way that Chris Gayle said it. And I know I don't believe Puran owes Chris Gayle on any money. I just think that's just Chris Gayle himself who's just making a light moment when he said that Puran now needs to pay him. This is how we must joke about the thing and be happy that the man has heard the money. We are not hearing any complaint about the 174 million Guyanese dollars that Shepherd lost. We are not hearing about the 100 million Jamaican dollars that Odin Smith lost. But yet still, we are complaining about the 1.95 million US dollars that Puran got. We are not hearing about the fact that Jason Holder price dropped from 1.4 million US dollars to 700,000 million US dollars. But we are happy. It appears that we are happy that these guys are losing money. And we are vexed that Puran got so much money. We need to stop it and we need to push back at persons like Salim Jaffer. Let me take a look at your comments. Jaffer was correct to a certain extent. Puran did not deliver in 2021 and his money went up in 2022. He did all right in 2022 and now his money has gone up again after not delivering at the World Cup. Fine. His scores at the World Cup were 13, 7, and 5 in 3 innings. But Sheldon, you ever heard the argument set in cricket that you're as good as your last innings? And Gautam Gambhir, as he said, he was not looking at Puran past performances in the IPL. He needed a finisher and they were going for Puran. And the Delhi Capitals wanted a backup keeper to Rishabh Pant. And 4 teams entered the auction. Only one other person, Sam Curran, has 6 teams that entered the auction. For Puran, 4 teams entered the auction. Over 60 different bids for him. So there must be something. Yes, it's bad mind, Mr. Kamsanova. It's bad mind the things they're saying about the youth. They have launched a war against the youth. Yes, Ben Stokes is overpriced And Purans need to come big at the IPL to shut up his haters. That is so true. And one of the advices that I would give to Puran is for him to practice hitting the ball through the offside. He needs to spend a lot of time practicing to hit the ball through the offside. That is one of the advices that I would give to Puran. He needs to come big at the IPL. His strike rate at the IPL remains above 150. So he is indeed a finisher. But that being said, Mr. Casanova, the hatred, the maliciousness, the viciousness, the vindictiveness that is shown towards the young man is unfair. It's so unfair. Day in, day, they always attack West Indies players when they get big money. They also said that Cottrell did not deserve the $1.5 million he got 2 IPL seasons ago. That is true. They also attack Cottrell. They attacked Shepherd last year. These Indians, they do not recognize that without the international flair, the IPL would not be making so much money. It's the international players why the IPL is making so much money. Now, I want to say something. When Puran get this money, and when our West Indian players get this money, that money comes into the West Indies economy. It comes into the Caribbean economy. We are not sure, but they probably invested it. They probably start a business. I know for sure that, sorry about that, I know for sure that Odin Simit donated 8 laptops to his primary school from the money that he got from last year IPL. So these players, they give back money to their community. They give back to their community. And if they invest, that brings about job for people in the Caribbean. So why hate them for it? Why speak about them in such despicable terms when they are giving back to their community, while they are investing in their communities, and by investing in their communities, they are providing jobs for others. They probably do addition to their homes. And by doing addition to their homes, they are providing jobs for others. And they probably build a house for their mother, or probably a loved one, or a sister, so on. And by building that house, they are spending money in the local industry, and by providing jobs for people in the industry. So when they get these big paychecks, we need to look at it in an wholesome way, and not just looking at it as they getting the money. Even if they squander the money, and cars and girls and women or what, even if they squander it, if they squandered it in the Caribbean, the money is still in the Caribbean economy. It is still. And maybe they squander the money, but somebody who got the money is making good use of it. I'm not saying that they do, because a number of times I said things and they took one sentence and give it the impression that was the entire argument. But I'm saying, even if they squandered it, and I'm not saying they do, as long as they squandered it in the West Indies economy, it's still better us. And the other thing about these guys getting so much money is that it inspired other youngsters in the Caribbean to reach for something. It inspired others. So stop the hatred of Nicolas Puran and his almost $2 million US. Stop it. Do not follow the international press. Do not follow mainstream media. Stop the posting on social media criticizing Puran. He worked for it. He deserves it. Let's encourage him. With that price tag that Puran has, he's going to be under a lot of pressure. So we should not add to that pressure. So let us recognize this and give him a break, encourage him, because his price tag will inspire others. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is that the West Indies 4-day season will start on February 1. And I'm wondering, what is preventing this from starting next week instead? Knowing that the team is going to tour Zimbabwe in early February. It therefore means that the youngsters in the Caribbean will not get an opportunity to impress before the Zimbabwe series. And I don't know why this series, this regional 4-day competition, could not start next week. Because all those players in the International League T20 and all those players who are playing in the South African 20, the SA 20, whether the competition starts on the 1st of February or the 2nd of January, they will not participate. They are going to play for the bigger money. And I'm wondering why. So they are going to play the first 2 rounds in Grenada and Antigua. 2 rounds, 2 set of matches. 2 matches will be played in Antigua and 1 in Grenada each match day. And there will be 2 rounds. The first round will start on the 1st of February and ends on the 4th. And the second round will start on the 8th of February and ends on the 11th. After that, they will break. And they will break until March 15th, when all the teams will gather in Trinidad and they will play the remaining 3 rounds in Trinidad. So all teams will play 5 matches this year, 5 regional matches. I have called for 15, but the Cricket West Indies, in their wisdom, think that 5 rounds of matches is good enough. Interestingly, though, they named another tournament, and I think they named it the Edley Weeks tournament. And they said that from April 18 to May 6, they are going to play 3 matches, 3 4-day matches. What they said that they're going to select the best of the best from the regional 4-day tournament, the best of the best from the regional 4-day tournament, and those who are not in the test 11. They said test 11. So I don't know if those who are not in the test 11 that played the last match against South Africa, probably those who would have taken part in the last test match against South Africa, those will not be in the squad. So they are going to have 3 squads from April 18 to 6. The very best players in the regional 4-day tournament. One of the team will be named Team Edley and the other one will be named Team Weeks. And the third team will be the West Indies Cricket Academy team. Now, I do not have an issue with this tournament. I like the idea because the best will get to play against the best and the youngsters at the academy will get to play against the best. So I do not have an issue with this tournament, but I still think though that the regional 4-day competition in itself should at least be another 5 matches. I think it should at least be another 5 matches. Because I really want to see Athanaze and Imlap before the Zimbabwe team is selected. And I would have hoped that the West Indies, that Cricket West Indies, would have played this tournament starting next week, the 2nd of January. And I don't see any reason at all why it could not have been scheduled for the 2nd of January. To your comments, please. I'm coming to your comments. I don't think anyone in the Caribbean should pocket watching these guys. At the end of the day, it's their job, and if the Indians value them that highly, then it is what it is. So true, Supernova 22, so true, Supernova 22. Love that comment. I love that comment. Claude Murphy, I am happy for Puran, but Joseph and Powell, who were retained by their franchises, is paid more. Um, Claude Murphy, I think both Joseph and Powell, although they retained, they were on a 3-year contract. And each year, they're getting less than $250,000 each year. I am not sure of the exact figure, but I think it is about $250,000 that each of them is getting each year. They are not going to get the $1.95 million that Puran is getting. Supernova. Personally, I think it should be at least 8 rounds, not 5. 5 rounds in an entire year is absolutely nothing. I agree with you 100%, Supernova. 5 rounds, I would prefer 10. Sure, Mr. Casanova, only 5 rounds. I must be honest with you though. All right, cricket form, 15 might be a bit too much. If we have 15 rounds accounting for expenses, CWI might have to sell that Coolidge cricket ground. You know, this is a point that I always made. That Cricket West Indies is in the business to develop talent and to put infrastructure in place and program in place. Not necessarily, and it's good to be liquid. It's good to have cash in the bank. But that can't be the number one priority of Cricket West Indies. Between franchise league and the test tour, the 4-day will produce new stars. We are up the test tours. Between the franchise league and the test tours, the 4-day will produce new stars. Sheldon Smith, we are praying and hoping. As Cricket West Indies supporters, as supporters of the team, we are praying for that. We want to see new stars come forward. We want to see persons like Chandapal continues their development. That's what we want to see. We hope that new stars will come forward. Supernova 22, CWI has the money to do it, and we need more cricket. I would like 10, to be honest. Mr. Casanova, I agree with you. They have the money. If they have the money to do it and refuse to do 10 rounds, then someone should be held accountable. I just don't think they feel it's worth the risk of 10 rounds this year. Supernova, you need to expand on that. How will 10 rounds not benefit the players? How will the players benefit development? I don't know. I would like you to expand on that, Supernova. Does anyone know about Solanzo? After he got hit in his maiden test, never heard about him again. I have talked about Solanzo on this program. And Claude Murphy, my position on Solanzo. It's very unfortunate. If you look back at that video and you look back at international cricket, no one feel where Solanzo was feeling. The situation is very unfortunate. Very unfortunate. And I don't know who put the young man there to feel. It was very unfortunate. And I always said that Solanzo was a regional 4-day average of 26. Should not have been in the team in the first place. Now, don't misinterpret what I said to think that I'm not sympathetic to the injury that the young man received. I am very sympathetic. And just like earlier, I defended Puran to the tilt because of the criticism that he's facing. I also criticize Puran performances all the time. So don't think that I'm not sympathetic towards Solanzo injury. Don't. I am. And I'm glad that he had recovered because he was playing in the regional 4-day tournament that took place this year. And I wish him all the success in the future. And I hope that he will come good. But with a 26 average, I am not someone who is going to pick him for a West Indies test team. I am not going to pick him for a West Indies test team. Now, Andre Edwards, good afternoon. Thank you. Thank you for joining the show. Thank you for your comment. West Indies should go back to the 10 rounds which existed before COVID, home and away. Andre Edwards, I am pushing for the 10 rounds. They may not be able to do it home and away because of expense, but I think the way that they are doing it, by having all the team assemblies in one area and play 2-3 rounds is good. But they could do it and play the 10 rounds. Next, they could assemble all the teams in Jamaica and play another 3 rounds. And then they move to Barbados and play another 2 rounds. I think that's what they could do. But I agree with you with the 10 rounds. So what happens if one team dominates the competition and has the majority of the best players? Will people holler and get angry about too many players from a certain territory? I won't. I think the best players should always play. Cricket Forum, I just think CWI feel they won't get back any investment from the red ball side if the region. I want to say something about that. The money that Cricket West Indies get from ICC, which presently is $1.3 million per month. 1.3 million US dollars per month. That's the money that CWI gets from the ICC. They get this money because of Test cricket. It is Test cricket why they are getting this money. So we must remember that. And although in the next ICC cycle, we will only be playing 26 matches, the money that we get from ICC monthly is because of Test cricket. And I've said that come January 2024, that 1.3 million is going to move to 4 million. It will be North versus South like this year, just at an all-star level. Solanza at this stage is not test match material. I don't want to be sound harsh, then Dwayne, he never was. I don't want to sound harsh. But the truth is, he never was. And again, I'm saying I'm sympathetic towards the young man. And I'm glad that he has recovered. To be sympathetic and to be critical of his performances are two different things. He was never test level material, never. Also, Cricket Forum, it must be said our women's team was embarrassed at home. I'm going to dedicate an entire show to that, Supernova. I thank you for bringing it up. Because I know that you are someone who followed the women game. You followed it interestingly. You followed it intensely. And I may even bring you on to discuss it with me. Because it was such a pathetic. And maybe it is time for us to call for Cody Walsh and Robert Samuels to step down. Maybe it's time. I think some games should be played on community grounds so villagers could come out and support. I ate them in the oval by myself. That is so true, Claude Murphy. There are such a number of areas, especially in Jamaica, where if the matches go there, they'll get bigger crowds than what they are getting at Sabina Park. I know that for true. The next thing is that South Africa, 189 all out versus Australia, who were 45 for 1. The match starts in just about 45 minutes time, the second day. Now, there's a lot of call that I'm getting and saying that South Africa is not better than West Indies. And I answered it one way. March is not far. March is not far. So all of you who are calling me and message my phone and sending me a message on social media, I'm saying to you, March is not far. It's not far. And then we will see if South Africa is better than West Indies. Now, I was watching the match last night. And I thought that South Africa was off to a good start. And they were 29, I think, with the over just before the first drinks break. And Irwi, who was batting so well, chased a wide one from Scott Boland, and nicked off to third slip. He chased a wide one. I'm thinking that Irwi chased that wide one because he was leaving Cummins and Stark so well. But Cummins and Stark was bowling at 140, 141, 142. So maybe because Boland was a little slower, maybe that's why he chased that wide one. But it was a poor shot. He chased a wide one from Boland and nicked off to Kawaja at third slip. With about half an hour to go before lunch, De Bruin, who was batting so well and he looked so good, a tall right hand, and he was stroking the ball so cleanly. He played a straight drive off Cummins. It was a joy to behold. It just barely missed the off stump and it sped away to the mid-off boundary. It was a joy to behold. It was a great shot. And then he got a full ball from Green and tried to cross bat it to mid-wicket. Get the upper portion of the bat, and it skied in the air, and Carey took a catch. And they were 59 for 2. And I said to myself, I'm not watching any more of this. There were 2 terrible shots to get out. And from 59 for 1, they slipped to 67 for 5. And if it wasn't for Kyle Verney 52 and Marco Jansen 59, South Africa would have well made less than 100 because these two put on 112 for the 6 wickets. And Marco Jansen, the tall left-arm fast bowler, who started as a batsman in cricket. You know, his brother, who played in the CPL this year, the CPL, used to be always bowling to Marco. But then his brother wanted to bat. And so Marco started bowling to him. And that's how Marco developed his bowling. And now he's playing as an all-rounder in the South African team. But if it wasn't for these two players, South Africa would have well made less than 100. The next thing is that Pakistan and the Babar Azam fans would love this. Although he was dropped on 12. He was dropped when he was on 12. But Pakistan are 317 for 5. And Babar Azam is 161 not out. I'm happy for Ajas Patel, who, if you recall, Ajas Patel got 10 for 119 in an innings against India in Mumbai last year. I think it was about the 12th of December last year. At the Wankhede Stadium, he got 12 for 119, and he was dropped for the next match. He got 10 for 119 in one innings. In the match, he got 14 wickets. But I think that was the last match of the series. So he was dropped. When New Zealand returned home for their next match, he was dropped and he was not in the squad. So a man who got 14 wickets in one match got dropped for the next match. So I'm very happy to see Ajas Patel. I'm very happy to see Ajas Patel back in the New Zealand team. And he got 2 for 91. But Babar Azam is on 161 not out, having dropped when he was on 12. West Indies cricket get 10% of all IPL income. They get a stipend. I don't know if it is 10% of the players' money they get, but for the price that each player is sold for. So Puran, say run off Puran price to $2 million. I don't know if West Indies necessarily get 200,000 for Puran, but I know that they get a price for each player that they have in the CPL. I don't know the percentage. Giovanni Reid, I can check it though. I'm not sure if it is 10%. South Africa batting is about West Indies level, but their bowling is far better. I have nothing more to say, Sheldon. March. will soon come. All I know is that South Africa don't pass West Indies 283. Well, we also made a 300. We made a 300 to a supernova. I think we made 313 in the second innings of the first test. I think so. That is true. Big point, boss. They don't pass us yet. But again, March will soon come. March will soon come. Kirk Ahmed, the only making things South Africa better than West Indies is the bowling attack, Mr. Ose. Well, but remember that the cricket is made up of batting and bowling and fielding. And I think that our batting is better than South Africa. But I think they can field better than us. I think they can bowl better than us. And I think they are fitter than us. And they play with a higher intensity than us. But again, Kirk, March soon come. Is Australia that good? Or are they being assisted by Mr. Sandpaper, their backup coach? Claude Murphy, good one. Claude Murphy, good one. Good one. So bowling gonna bowl out Australia cheap. The Australia no way getting 300 or 400 against SA bowling. Well, the match start in just over half hour. The difference between South Africa and West Indies is bowling stronger. That is so very true. That is so very true. Please slash a like on the video, share and subscribe. I thank you for tuning in. But just before I go, I just want to say happy birthday to Shimran Etmire, the former West Indies youth captain who won the Youth World Cup in 2016, captaining that West Indies team. Today is Shimran Etmire's birthday, and I just want to give a loud shout out to Shimran Etmire on his birthday. So happy birthday, Shimran Etmire. South Africa bowling is what carries them out. Carry them. Our batting is better. And with Quinton out, they will struggle more. Bless, be good. Thank you, Claude McKay. Slash a like on the video, share and subscribe. And continue to have a wonderful Christmas season. Spend time with your loved one. Please take care of yourself and have a great evening. Goodbye now.